Alright, Travis Wayne Goodsell. So before I left today, I stumbled across some breaking news. I was very frustrated that I could not stay to do the research, as I've been doing the research for the last almost hour. So I hope I got it all for you to do this video. Backstory: we're in the latter days. The signs in the heavens are calendar dates. We have a specific calendar date because of Pope Gregory, who designed our calendar system. When the scriptures were written, they didn't have the Gregorian calendar. And so they utilized signs in the heavens to render a universal date upon Earth. So if you've seen Stargate, you have to get the coordinates of the star systems which form the cube, and then you need a destination, a source destination, which is Earth. And so when you're on another planet, Earth then becomes the destination point with the other constellations. Does that help you explain it? I didn't geek you out too much. And so, knowing this, and with our modern technology of computer programs, I've been able to obtain a Stellarium program, stellarium.org, and have been utilizing it for the identification of the dates for the latter-day signs in heavens. And when they talk of the sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven, that's kind of vague. We need more detail. And so Revelation, which the Book of Mormon refers us to, as well as repeats those same signs that are described in detail, I refer you to 1 Nephi chapter 1, starting in verse 8, where Lehi has a dream and the heavens are opened. That's code for, hey, signs in the heavens alert, we're giving you a date. And he sees the dates that are given in the book of Revelation, specifically in 12 and 19, the first year of the latter days and the last year of the latter days. And I've done videos helping to confirm all of this. Samson, for example, is stories describing the signs in the heavens for the 3 days of darkness. Sun shall be darkened. And Moses is likewise telling us about the signs of the latter days. There are 3 days of darkness, stars falling from heaven, a coronavirus, an exodus. I just did the video the other day about our exodus with the parting of the rivers in Utah because of the drought. Specifically Green River, as I was telling you for the past year, that when something happens, be prepared to go and meet at Green River Crossing, the 191 and the 6 and the 70. There's a turnoff right there for Green River. And then lo and behold, the other day, the news, Fox 13 News Utah, was talking about the drought, and they specifically focused on Green River. And so the Green River has been parted for us so that we may exodus through it on dry land. I was very amused. And so if you're wondering, well, what's with Jesus then? Well, you're new, obviously, to my channel. Joseph Smith doesn't believe in the Gospel's Jesus. He isn't supernatural. Joseph instead follows the Book of Mormon, which says that we are to be new Israelites. That's what the Jews are referring to when he says the learning of the Jews, which were before the captivity. Thus, Israelites, thus, to us, as descendants of the Jews in Mormonism, as we are given an assigned tribe in our patriarchal blessings, we're new Israelites. And the concept of a Christ is not the Gospel's Jesus, because Christ means anointed one. And where are the new Israelite Mormons anointed to become hereafter kings and queens unto the Most High God, hereafter to rule and reign in the house of Israel forever? Israel, even. I've gone over how Nelson is not a translator by giving the wrong definition, which was white supremacist, by the way, when the right definition has to do with the latter-day descendant through Israel, the new name of Jacob, who usurped his brother Esau's birthright and blessing, took away the prophecy of the latter-day Messiah from him. That's why he was named Yah, the Hebrew God, Prince of God. A prince is an heir to the throne, the latter-day Messiah, who's to restore the kingdom of David, who also is Yah, Prince of God, etc. And so Solomon is the son of David, the Prince of Peace, as Solomon contains peace, salam, and the N at the end refers to king in Paleo-Hebrew, because if you're new, I deciphered Paleo-Hebrew. I deciphered Egyptian petroglyphs, so I know all about the subject matter. And so, King of Peace, when Solomon took the throne. And so, Jerusalem, you have the god Yah, Jeru. There were no vowels. It's all picture identification. And then Salem, peace. The god Yah, and then peace. So, when 2017, well, before I actually found out, so I need to go back even further. Remember the tetrad, the blood lunar eclipses in 2014 and 2015. They happened on Jewish holy days, Passover and Tabernacles, also called Sukkot. Sukkot? The wrong syllabus on the parable, whatever it's called. And the pattern I had known previous to this was with Elder Faust and President Hinckley, both of whom died within a month before a lunar eclipse. Moon turned to blood. And so, with those two deaths, I thought, well, that's interesting. You know, but my life was falling apart as my life was being threatened. Church doesn't like it when you expose them as not being translators. They tend to hire people to have you assassinated. And so when I was freed, it was 2014, right before the first one. So I heard about the announcement and went, well, what do you know? And nothing happened. No deaths of a prophet before that first lunar eclipse. And I thought, oh, okay, I guess it ain't a thing. It's just a coincidence that Faust and Hinckley died. And so I brushed it off, didn't think anything more of it until come October, and they're announcing in advance of that lunar eclipse. And I went, oh, there's two. Oh, okay, so maybe this is going to be something bigger. Maybe we'll have two die. No. Nothing. And so then came the third one. On General Conference Saturday morning of 2015, I learned of it in advance and went, oh, now they tell me it's a tetrad. And so this was something brand new. So I had no idea if it was going to be before the third one, after the third one, after the fourth one, before the fourth one. I had no clue. This was brand new. This wasn't fitting the previous pattern that I had identified. And sure enough, after the third and before the fourth, Perry, Packer, and then Scott. Scott just barely made it. He was 8 days previous to the fourth one. And that was impressive. And it was necessary. Because the sign of the Mormon Moses, I'll get to him in a minute with the identifications. In Revelation chapter 12, there are 3 additional stars added to the crown of the woman who gives birth to the Mormon man like Moses, the latter-day Moses, our Christ, who we're waiting for, whom all scriptures testify and prophesy of. And so 12 stars? Well, what does the Book of Mormon tell us about 12 stars following the noonday sun, who is Emmanuel in Egyptian? Amen-El, the god Amen from the Egyptians. The sun at noonday. Dead south. Yeah, there's 12 others following him. And so all Mormons naturally assume, well, it's Jesus and the 12 apostles. So, it was necessary as part of the symbolism that there are 3 apostles missing and 3 join for the sign. 3 dead apostles, 3 missing apostles, 3 new callings for apostles, 3 stars added to the crown to make 12 stars for the stellar date for the sign of the coming. Now, it's not a birth, it's the sign of a birth. And there's a difference. The event on earth, he's already an adult, because the sign of the death is 7 years later, in April 2024. And so, the 7-year-old boy is going to save the world but then die. No. So let's take you into the Doctrine and Covenants to show you the symbolism. So remember, all of us who've been through our initiatories are Christ's. We take upon ourselves the name of Christ, both men and women, of the new Israelites. And thus, this Mormon Moses is born of mortal parents who are of the new Israelites. And I've done the videos where I've gone over the prophecies of the names of his parents and where he's to be born and what he does as an infant and a child, and where he moves to. It's very detailed. It's kind of freaky, actually. Alright, so let's see. It's 107 and then 91. Okay. And again, the duty of the president of the office of the high priesthood. It's the head of the church, because it says it also, is to preside over the whole church and to be like unto Moses. So the president of the church is supposed to be this guy. Nelson's supposed to be him, although it was Monson in 2017. But Monson was on his deathbed. And it goes over in this same section what manner of succession process is supposed to be done. And it wasn't done in 2018 when Monson dies under a sign under the calendar date in Revelation 12 verse 4. Stars fall from the tail of the dragon. But on that night, as the sign is being fulfilled, stars are falling from heaven. Monson dies. He falls. Nelson takes over automatically, because that's the system. It's not the right system, but that's what this church's system is. And so Nelson, taking over, now becomes the judge, the leader of the church, the presider, just like a judge who presides. And so there's a constellation called Libra, which are the scales of judgment. And when you're in the middle of it, you're on the scales. You're being judged. At the base, you've been judged. And guess what? There's a star there called Acrab, which is understood symbolically in meaning to represent the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the Garden of Eden, where Adam and Eve fell from Eden, were cast out to the lone and dreary world. And so the constellations and such are all telling stories as the planets and the sun and the moon rotate around them. And when you have a specific date of a constellation or a conjunction of stars in a constellation, it also is telling a story. Thus, Samson is telling a story, but giving us the dates for the 3 days of darkness. Samson, again, for Paleo-Hebrew, Shemesh, sun. The N at the end for king, sun king. Samson is the sun king. 3 days of darkness of solar eclipses. Ta-da! The sun at noonday is the god Ammon, whom the pharaohs were the sun Ammon on earth. This is also why, being anointed, we become Christ, because the pharaohs were Christ on earth, ruling over the kingdom of Ammon on earth. This is where all of this ties in. And yes, in 92, he's supposed to also be a translator. And so when we read from section 103, verse 16, he's talking previous about the redemption of Zion. It must needs come by power. And so he says, therefore I will raise up mortal baby through Mormon parents of the new Israelites who have been made Christs in the temple unto my people, Mormons, like I said, a man who shall lead them like as Moses led the children of Israel. And so when we go then to section 110 of the Doctrine and Covenants, Moses and Elijah both appear to Joseph Smith in the Kirtland Temple on Passover, which is a remembrance of the Exodus of Moses. And on this Exodus of Moses, Elijah, the God Yah, the Hebrew God, and Moses give Joseph Smith the keys of the first presidency. And for Moses, instead it says, it's the keys of the gathering of Israel from the four parts of the earth, leading the 10 tribes from the land of the north. I went over that with you in a video about the 10 June, so this month, annular eclipse. So it'll be a ring of fire. Oh, is that the right one? The ring of fire. It's what's his name? Can't remember right offhand. But it's over the North Pole, the North. That's a signal to the northern tribes that it's gathering time. As the waters have been parted, it's Exodus time. Seeing the pattern here. And so we just had a total lunar eclipse. I did the video of that, and I also did the video of me recording it. Couldn't actually see it because it was too cloudy, as it was on the western horizon, southwestern horizon technically, when it was occurring. But I did get a recording of it, showed it for you from somebody else who had seen it in another location. And again, no death a month before it. And so I thought, okay, so I'm confused. But then when I heard about the solar eclipse, I thought, well, maybe it's something new, maybe. But all I know is that it is a signal to the northern tribes to be gathered for the Exodus. And if you're wondering, well, Nelson's this Moses guy, right? No, he's Mars. Nelson is Mars. The planet that represents the Mormon Moses is Jupiter. On the birthday sign in the heavens, it was Jupiter who was at the star Spica, which is Bethlehem, the house of bread, as Virgo, the woman, technically a virgin because she's not a woman until after she's had the baby, and so she doesn't have the baby until the 23rd of September 2017. Now she is called a woman. And so it's not Nelson. So you can't force it to be Nelson. Nelson's already identified as Mars. This is important for several other signs that have already happened. Like he was at the mouth of the goat beast when he talked to the youth of the church, and his wife revealed that they've been compromised by Russia. After he'd already exposed that he compromised us to Russia, and a temple yet to be determined in a major city in Russia. Something like that. Everybody cheered in the audience, not understanding you don't do business with Russia without becoming compromised. They get you compromised if you refuse to get compromised. You cannot be as wise as a serpent and innocent as a lamb doing business with Russia. It can't be done. They won't let you. And so, let's go over the sign that I had found out about. And so, remember, the tetrad, it was between the 3rd and the 4th. And so I had done the video and I checked and I didn't see a dual or a triple that's coming up next year, or a tetrad which isn't until 2036, something like that. And so I was stuck. It was just a partial eclipse that was showing on the list on Wikipedia. Ta-da! Bingo! Whoops, what are you doing? Go away. Alright. So let me pull it up. I already did the video of it from time and date. So I'll add that at the beginning already for you. I guess I could do the pictures and labeling them. Of course, in now 28 minutes, most of you have already given up on me. Let's see, it would be that file. Okay. Oh, I almost forgot. Today and tomorrow, we've got asteroids falling from heaven. Hopefully not. They're global killers, or potentially hazardous objects, as they were describing the one for today. Yeah. Alright, so the eclipse is going to happen on the 19th of November. And so, May, November. This is the time period for whatever deaths of the apostles, or prophets, will happen or occur, following the pattern that it's always before the lunar eclipse, but with the tetrad it was between the 3rd and the 4th. Here we have one that happened in May, and nobody died before, so it's after. So how much time? I normally would say, well, it has to be within a month, otherwise, no luck. But because of the November partial eclipse, which, as you'll see in the video, it's just a tiny sliver. It still, for the most part, turns red. And so where is it located? Well, the picture I showed you, it's in Taurus, and it's the front leg where it's at. It's not between the horns, but there are the southern and northern Taurid meteor showers, stars falling from heaven, that it's in conjunction with in November, as it's falling by becoming a lunar eclipse, though partial, but just a sliver. And you're gonna let me? You're not. Why aren't you letting me go to the next page? Oh, it's the other way. Lo and behold, now they show up. Okay, so now full moons are completely opposite of the zodiac than the sun. And so now we need to see what activity is going on with the other characters involved in the latter days. And they're all on the other side as well, from Libra all the way to the tail of the goat beast. And so, should I start where the sun is? Yes. The sun is being judged at the time of the stars falling from the heaven, with the moon falling in Taurus. And if you don't know Egyptian, the Taurus bull, or Apis bull, was used for ceremonies in regards to the death of the pharaoh and the succession transition of his firstborn birthright blessing son. Only begotten, shall we say. And so that's why the bull is next to Aries, which is also a sacrificial animal. As Aries, you'll remember from Abraham sacrificing Isaac. A messenger appears, and then a ram appears. Well, that's actually a sign in the heavens with an astronomical date, but I won't get into that, although it does have bearing on the latter days, just through the Book of Mormon. And I'll give you a hint, 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem, which was 597 BCE. And so, Mercury is also being judged. Mercury was Trump in November 2016. Trump was put in the presidency in the first year when Nephi was born, the sign of the Mormon Moses. Every Mormon misses that. They all think that Nephi was alive and went with Lehi and the rest of the family to the top of the Red Sea. No. That's part of the message to us. And so Mercury was at the top of Libra as Trump was announced the winner. Trump was Mercury. He's still not out of the picture, and so I'm not sure if this is Biden. I couldn't quite identify a transition from Trump to Biden. But whatever, it's not important, because this is religion that we're dealing with here. Although it also has to do with America. America is where the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are, and Joseph Smith said they're both going to fall. And an Exodus will come, and Jupiter will save them. Mormon Moses. And so Mercury is also being judged with the sun. At the top of Libra, it's Mars. He's in the judgment position again. But it's the sign of falling. Are you familiar with the parable of the unjust judge? Yeah. The corrupt leader of the religion is at the top of Libra when we have a sign in the heavens of falling. And so it doesn't mean that that is the date, 19 November, because there are some other issues that need to be resolved. But it's the sign. The sign from May's lunar eclipse was huge, massive fall sign, as the moon was eclipsed at Akrab, the fall of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So that was awesome. But again, nothing happened before, but now we're seeing another sign after. And the third and fourth tetrad, 3 died in between, not on the date of a sign. Only Monson has died on the date of a sign, and before the lunar eclipse. Yeah, both. Double whammy for Monson. And so if you're Mormon and you're now concerned, I thought the church was true. Why are you preaching against the church, Travis? You need to be silent. I'm going to kill you. What are you doing? What's wrong with you? It's not my fault. Everybody in the universe has been prophesying of this day. If you can't identify the sign of Lucifer on the keystone of the headquarters of the church's temple, you're the one with the problem. They tried to assassinate me just because I'm a translator. I thought I was helping. Okay. So Jupiter. Right now he's in the bowels of the high priest, Aquarius. In November, he retrogrades back to the tail of the goat beast. Stars fall from the tail of the dragon. Uh-oh. Is the Mormon Moses gonna fall? Nope. Because we get a double negative, which cancels each other out and makes it a positive. Because the lunar eclipse, even though it's partial by a sliver, it's a fall. And so everything is reversed. Nelson, at the top of the scales of Libra, is reversed. He's not the leader, he's the fallen prophet, the corrupt leader. Jupiter, the Mormon Moses, is at the tail of the goat beast. You'd think fallen? Nope. And so now let's get to the Exodus part. If you understand the traditional belief, Jesus was born in 1 AD, in the Roman period. None of this is true, but the tradition has bearing. Because he was 33 years old in the year 33 AD when he died. So a double 33. The Jews have a different calendar dating system, Everybody has a different calendar, thus signs in the heavens unify everybody together. So it would be a different calendar date for the Jews versus the Gregorian versus Julian versus the Mayan versus Chinese, etc. But it's all on the same day. The Jewish calendar has a new year in September. Sometimes it's October, it varies because of the way the calendar is set up. And so, for example, in 2017, the new year for the Jews was a month after the first day of darkness on Monson's birthday, 21st of August 2017. It was 3 days before the 23rd of September 2017, the sign of the Mormon Moses. And this year, the new year is on the 7th of September, not the 20th. And thus, because the Jews start their days at evening time at 6 p.m., it's technically 6 p.m. on the 6th. So the first day is on the 7th. They designate the Exodus of Moses at 3,333 years, double 33, ago. Right now, the calendar year is 3,333 years after the designated Exodus. And this is where the Abraham sacrificing Isaac sign in 4 AD on 8 April 4 AD, which is 20 years before the 2024 8 April total solar eclipse occurs. But 2020 is when 3,333 years from the time of the Exodus occurred. Ruth Bader Ginsburg died that evening of New Year for the Jews. And until 6 p.m. on the 6th of September, that's the deadline. Because all prophecy scriptures, as I'm going over with you, it's Exodus time. It's this year, this Jewish year. Began in 2020, goes in 2021 for the Jewish year, 3,333 years from the time of the Exodus. And so we have until September 6th in the evening, 7th technically. Whereas the second lunar eclipse is not until November, a couple more months away. And so the deaths, if you remember your Moses Exodus story, Pharaoh's firstborn birthright blessing son dies. There is nobody to succeed the throne. Thus, Moses now takes over as Pharaoh, or as we Mormons call him, Melchizedek, which was the name used, king and high priest, Melech Zadok, king, Melech Zadok, high priest, to replace the too frequented use of son Amen, Emmanuel, the priesthood of Amen. The priesthood of Amen after the order of the son of Amen. Son Amen, Father Amen. The sun at noonday, son Amen is Pharaoh, the mortal representative on earth, the Christ. And so Moses is the Christ for the Jews, and they're waiting for a descendant of King David and of Ephraim through Joseph to restore the kingdom and save the Jews. Because that Jesus guy in the Roman period failed to save the Jews. He failed to have signs in the heavens about his birth. There was one about a death in 4 AD. But yeah, wrong time period, wrong events. He just failed. But that's why his story is also to be added to the prophecies of the latter-day Moses instead. And so halfway between is August. On the 22nd is the full moon. So that is the halfway mark between the May eclipse and the November eclipse. On the 22nd. On the 8th is the new moon, before the new moon of the new year of the Jews. Then we have on the 15th the ascension of Mary. She ascended. Nelson says that Jesus doesn't ascend. I've done those videos too. He refuses to attribute ascension to Jesus, his God. And there's only one being in the premortal existence in Mormon theology who does not get to ascend. And again, I refer you to the keystone on the Salt Lake Temple. And so, this is our time frame. The waters have been parted. We're waiting for the time to go, and let me give you a parable, because I could go over the Book of Mormon. In Ether 13, there's a civil war that breaks out in this year. In 3rd Nephi 7, 7, because 8 is the natural disasters, which, we're going to have those pretty soon here this year. And so, as I did the video earlier today, Trump has ordered there to be a civil war to get him on the throne again. That's why I'm not sure if he's out of the picture in the signs. He's calling for a civil war. He's not going to follow the Constitution to get him put in. I did that video. And so, it's Exodus time, guys. And making sure I got it all. Section 45, for example, talks about the new Israelites of the latter days who will see the Christ and then weep because they persecuted him. And my channel is evidence of Mormons who refuse to even conceive of the idea, let alone let me be, because I'm getting death threats and threats to be silent. It's just horrifying. But in section 101, verse 43, in 3rd Nephi 7, there's another death of a chief judge. I thought that might have been Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but it appears that it refers to the whole government of America and the breakup of the United States into tribal states. Oregon, for example, has just seceded from Oregon. They now consider themselves part of Idaho. It still has to be approved by Congress, but in their minds, it's already happened. And you already know how they feel about Democrats winning elections and making laws and voting on things. And so, alright, in section 101, verse 43, and now I will show unto you a parable, that you may know my will concerning the redemption of Zion, which must come by power. Therefore he will raise up a Mormon, who will be like Moses with an Exodus. Green River. It's already been parted for us. And we will be able to cross over on that freeway on dry land. And so the nobleman appoints prophets. And they were supposed to plant the 12 olive trees, the 12 tribes of Israel. Technically there's 13 and 14, but you don't count Dinah, the woman who was raped by the men of Shechem, and then Levi and Simeon were denied being the lineage through whom King David would come from, so it fell to Judah, the betrayer. And then notice that Esau married a woman from the false church, Judith. Giving you clues, guys. I've already done the videos, so I'm just reminding you of them. And so then he built the church office building and put 70 assigned to it, that they may watch over the olive trees. But then they got lazy, and the prophets said, hey, why can't we give this money to the money changers? Judas. And as a result, in 51, the enemy came by night, as a thief in the night. The wedding feast in the middle of the night. 10 virgins. There were those who had followed the scriptures and knew, and then there were Mormons who didn't. And those Mormons didn't get to go in the Exodus and broke down the hedge. And the servants of the noblemen, the prophets, arose and were afraid and fled. And the enemy destroyed everything in Utah. Destroyed the church, destroyed the buildings, destroyed the Mormons. Broke down the olive trees. Thus the need for an exodus. And so, 55. Here's the Mormon Moses. And the Lord of the vineyard said unto one of his servants, go and gather together the residue, the survivors, of the Mormons, and Revelation 19, 11 and 17 is the sign. So there you have it. Joseph Smith also talked about in 19 July 1840 that Zion and New Jerusalem, the mountain cities, needed to be built before 2017 because of the coronavirus that is coming. Zion cannot be a place of safety, refuge, and peace if it's not built. And it's not built, and so, Nelson, the false prophet, let Mormons suffer die being infected with coronavirus, rather than doing as his office is supposed to be and act like Moses from the Exodus and tell Mormons to stay home. And as they are filthy rich with trillions of dollars, they could have made sure Mormons could stay home and not be extorted by the governor to go back to work, or, you know, the whole children thing. Do I go back to work and abandon my children at home, or do I stay at home and lose my job and not be able to take care of the kids? Either way, you can't take care of the kids, because the Republicans didn't want to take care of you either. They wanted you infected. And a certain beast with the mark of the beast on the baseball caps over the foreheads, whose image, streaming live, wanted everybody to inject themselves with disinfectants. And there were people who actually did. Alrighty, so yeah, an hour. Dear God. But this is big breaking news, and YouTube will throttle my views, so that those of you who are watching and who are still watching after an hour now will be exclusive in this. So there you go.